Yo, what's up, guys? Here's your Dawn Marathon, and today, with the best question ever, how to precisely predict your marathon time. Now, many guys do certain things and follow training plans, and then they have a set goal, and then they just, yeah, orientate according to that goal. But in over 90%, way over 90%, the prediction goes wrong. So, here are the three most important schemes on how to approach to predict your marathon time as precisely as possible, and what are the preconditions for predicting your race time. So, first of all, there are three pillars: your shape, the race course profile, and let me think, the weather conditions on the day. So let's start out with the first thing. First thing is your marathon shape. You have to determine your very present marathon shape, which has to be as close to the marathon as possible. So let's say if you got a race coming up a few weeks ahead of that marathon, and it's a 10K race or a half marathon race, I would recommend having at least a half marathon race and a 10K race. And now with those two times, I will leave a link below for the two things which you need to have to calculate the times. You have to get yourself the Runner's World Race Predictor calculator, calculating online the possible times. That is, let's see here. Look at here, I've prepared it for y'all to see. Yeah, no, it doesn't work, of course. Yep, here it is, the Runner's World Race Predictor. Here you can enter your marathon. Here's a recent race. You can enter what distance it was, so you can enter the half marathon distance, the time of that distance, and then also another race, let's say 10K, so it can predict more precisely. Here's your time, and here's your mileage per week. Yeah, I would recommend, and then he will just calculate your possible race time with the precondition that you are being in the perfect shape. So on race day, you have to be just in the same shape as you have been inputting your data on that day into the calculator of Runner's World. So you have to be in the shape of those race times in order to have the approximate marathon time which has been predicted by the calculator. So there you have the mileage, weekly mileage, which is very accurate. I've tested it back and forth, and I would recommend for you to get an average weekly mileage up to the tapering time. After the tapering time, I'll leave those miles away, and before, I will say, let's say a 10-week average of your mileage max. 8 to 10 weeks average of average weekly mileage up to the tapering time. So if the tapering period is 3 weeks, you are having 3 plus 9. Yeah, if a common preparation time is around 12 weeks on average for the advanced runners, so I would say a 9-week average prior to the tapering. Then you will have your flat race time predicted with the perfect weather conditions. Now we have to move on to point number 2, where you have to reconsider after having that predicted race time, which all runners do, but that's not enough. You have to go now to the race profile. So if you are having a race profile, let me put this here. Here is a German guy, Greif, who has been providing us for many years, if not decades, a calculator which is allowing you to calculate the elevation meters of the marathon. So you can input the distance right here up and the meters up and down, and then you are just calculating. Let's say I've been running, I don't have my keyboard here, so I will have to manually input that stupid stuff in here. Yep, so let us input the stupid data in here, because these tablets are really lame. Yep, so let's put just time of, let's say 2:59, right? 2:59 over the marathon distance with a elevation of 300 meters. So he's calculating now this stuffs, and down here he'll give you on a new set page the race predicted time with a 2:59 would be a 2:54:03 on a flat course. Now, how to calculate that if you were having a flat time predicted, let's say, of 3 hours, and you are now having a course with 300 meters of elevation? I would just go the other way. I would just reset this to let's say if you had a flat calculated predicted time of 2 hours and 59, yeah, and you want to run a 2:59 over that elevated course, so that means you are having the 2:54. You need to run a 2:54 flat. If you had a 2:59 flat, but if you cannot run at 2:54, of course, you can only run at 2:59. So what would that equal? I would just try out and go and enter here multiple values. 5 minutes slower. Let's try with 5 minutes slower. That's the way I just managed to find out my predicted time, because you have to calculate the other way, not downwards but upwards. Now, the stupid keyboard is once again leaving me lost. So let's just put 304 in here. Right, calculate, and here you go. It would give you a predicted time of 2:58:54. That's it. That's almost precise. So we wanted to have a 2:59 flat would equal a 3:04. You have to try out a little bit if you see the difference from the elevated time to the recalculated time flat. So you have to take that gap and put that on top of your flat predicted time, and thus you will have a adjusted predicted time, not only a flat, but you will now also have a time according to the course profile you will run, and that is almost perfect, but still far away from perfect, because now you can have an idea of what time you will run on that day. But now here's the third pillar, which you have to reconsider, unfortunately, only on race day, and that's the most tricky pillar. The most tricky pillar is the weather. The weather condition on race day plays a significant role. For one, there could be a very hot and humid weather condition outside. So beyond 19 degrees, from 20 degrees upwards is gonna be a significant loss of your predicted time. So if you were having now a 3:04 predicted with a 2:59 flat, you will have to add a couple of minutes. Now this is the thing, the tricky thing. You have to be realistic in this calculation, because for this calculation there is no realistic calculator. You have to think, if there is 22 degrees, then I would personally add 1 or 2 minutes to that time. If it's 24 degrees, maybe I will go 2 to 4 minutes, and I will stick to the new race plan. So it's no longer 3:04, it would have to be 3:06 in case of 22 degrees. In case of 24 degrees, it would have to be 3:08. It's just an idea of mine. Same way it goes when it's colder than, let's say, 8 degrees or 6 degrees, or if it's less than 7 6 to 8 degrees, I would also add 1 minute. If it's less than 3 to 4 degrees, I would maybe add 1.5, 2 minutes. And if it's minus degrees, I would also add 2 to 3 minutes to that time, because too cold is also not good for your muscles and you will certainly struggle. And here's the third thing, which is the most brutal thing in this weather calculation: the wind gusts. Not the wind, not just the wind, not just the headwind, the wind gusts. The most cruel ones you might have encountered in a marathon. I have learned from many marathons, 33 official ones, that the wind gusts are even worse than the heat. I've ran a marathon at 30 degrees flat, 251. I ran the New York Marathon. I was in a much better shape in the year of my PR of 241, and I only ran at 254, even though I went through the half at 124. The reason was there were wind gusts of up to 50 to 80 kilometers per hour blowing in my face. And the same thing awaits me on race day in Lübeck, where the Baltic Sea might on race day provide us with some heavy headwinds when returning to Lübeck. So on our way down, we'll go with the tailwind, but that's not useful, because on our way back is where we're going to suffer the final 20 kilometers, and returning on a straight line in a headwind at the Baltic Sea at cold temperatures, including those uphill sections, it's very tough to estimate how many minutes you can add to your predicted time when having wind gusts. I don't know. I also don't know from which, maybe from 40 to 50 degrees, 40 to 50 kilometers per hour wind is considered wind gusts. So I would say up to 20 kilometers per hour you can get away without much loss. From 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, I would certainly add 2 to 3 minutes. But from 40 to 80, for example, 40 to 80, the situation I had in New York, it's at least, well, it's at least 5 to 8 minutes, at least. If you're a runner around 3 hours, if you're a runner around 2 hours, then you can add also 2 to 6 minutes. If you're a 4-hour runner, you will have to add 10 to 15 minutes. Lord knows. I'm just saying that you have to readjust. Now back to the pillar. Readjust your present shape. Realistically, your present race time shape of the half marathon 10K, which can provide you a realistic marathon time. Then to that, you have to add the course profile, the elevation meters. And in addition to that, on race day, you have to add the realistic temperature readjustment on top of your time, or the wind. The wind, which plays a significant role. So in my case, it's just an idea. If right now the calculator told me I can run a 253, flat, that is, flat, that ain't nothing. So on top of that, I have to add the course profile. Just an example. The course profile of Lübeck is around 300 meters. So the calculator on the German site told me I would have to run a 258. I will finish in a 258. But now, it might be a little bit too cold. I might be losing 1 to 2 minutes. 3 hours, sub 3 hours already gone. And maybe in addition to that, there might be some wind gusts, which might also give me some 2 to 4 minutes on top of that, if I am being, just nice to myself to this calculation. So on a bad day, 302 to 304 is my realistic prediction, but I can only do that final race pace estimation on race day. That's something you have not thought about. You cannot go all along with a set target time in your mind. up to that date. No, you are going to the starting line with the exact predicted time of the two pillars right here. How to precisely predict your marathon time. Pillar 1, your shape, and pillar 2, course profile. If having calculated those times, you have to have a fixed time in your mind. If you have that time, you go to the starting line. And if the day is perfect, the weather is perfect, and will not exceed 19 degrees at the end of the race, your time stays like that. If the winds are not too strong, just below 20 kilometers per hour, I would also leave that race predicted time. So in my case, it would be a 2:58, and I would say thank you God. But it will not be like that, because at the end of October it's going to be colder, so I would lose at least 1.5 minutes. Let's say a 3 hour sub 3. I might scratch the sub 3, but if there are winds, I might finish up in a 3:04, and if there are no winds, I might scratch the 3 hour. So this is it for today, guys. When predicting your marathon time, be extremely realistic in order to have a precise predicted time, because the marathon is the most mysterious thing out there which cannot be predicted and understood. The body is way too tricky. You can control it only to a certain extent. So if you want a good race time and not to disappoint yourself, you have to have that precise predicted time. So I hope you understood how to calculate that for yourself. Peace out. Your Dawn Marathon.